Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of What's Poppin' Reviews. Today we got another brand new review for you guys. It's for the movie The Invisible Man, which just released last Friday, I believe.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, Friday. So, yeah, what a roller coaster, man.
Yep.
For me, at least I don't know how it was for you, but for me, it was kind of a roller coaster because the movie really didn't pick up for me till the second half, kind of.
Really?
Yeah, so it was kind of a roller coaster of emotions because I was like, we'll get into it soon. Okay, I feel like once you get to the spoiler part of the of the review, we'll definitely get more into it. But yeah, so first part of the review, guys, we'll keep it clean, non-spoiler, give you guys our initial thoughts going into it, and then actually, how we felt afterwards, and then give you guys our score. And after the score, we will go ahead and get into more spoiler territory and let you guys know what we thought about certain scenes or whatever,
moments or plot holes or whatever.
Exactly. So what did you actually watch this? I watched this yesterday, which was Monday. When did you actually watch it?
I watched it Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
And it was like a 1 p.m. matinee. It was the most beautiful, sunny, 60-degree weather day, and I go into a theater to see The Invisible Man, and it was just a good time. I enjoyed myself. I don't know how packed your theater was. Mine was actually pretty populated.
Yeah. Well, I live pretty close to like a lot of theaters, like
right.
But like the closest one to me, there's like a hidden theater kind of ish, and this place is never packed. It's like never packed. It's very low key, and it's usually just like older people that go there to
it's
watch
an elderly
movies.
theater.
And, yeah, kind of ish. It's not meant to be, but it kind of turned into it.
Right.
And then everything is just reserved seating. Everything's top of the line. The seats they have full bar and everything.
Nice.
We went, and it was me and my buddy, rehabilitator. Shout out to him. Hung out, went there, sat down, and we realized that more people started to come in, and it was not too packed. It was good size. I was just really surprised because the ladies next to us, like 3 older Filipino ladies, they're like scaring each other, and they're like the age of like my mom, like in their 50s, 60s. I was like, well, they're having a good time with this. I was like, right on, okay. I like, usually that kind of stuff bothers me when people are like talking or whatever, but they were having fun, and it didn't bug me as much. So it was whatever,
so long as when it's a quiet moment in the movie that you're trying to pay attention to and build tension, and they're not talking, that's fine. But if it's like a moment where a scare happens,
like a tense moment, and then they'll just like giggle or something. Yeah, totally understandable. But like, whenever it's like not during a intense trying to pay attention to the dialogue moment. That was cool. Totally, honestly, the theater experience was great. Went there very chill. Initially when I went into it, I wasn't expecting much, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
I did watch the classic The Invisible Man, which I'm not sure a lot of you guys are aware. This is not the first Invisible Man movie. The original was 1933.
Yeah, it's an oldie. It's an oldie but a goodie.
I rewatched it. I actually have seen it before, and it's it is something else. It's probably like one of the first like slapstick comedy like / horror films of its kind of that day, man. Because it's actually kind of funny. Like if you're rewatching it was a little funny. And then I also rewatched the movie Hollow Man, which that one isn't Universal. That one is Columbia Pictures, with Kevin Bacon, and that one's more recent. That was 2000.
Okay.
By more recent, I mean that's like.
Well, I mean, compared to 1930, I mean that's pretty damn recent.
Yeah, right. So it's more recent, but I really enjoyed Hollow Man as well. Back when it first came out, rewatching it now, the CGI doesn't really hold up very well. But Kevin Bacon's awesome.
It's kind of like watching Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Seeing the Predator go invisible, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. It's hard to watch, but you still love it because it's the Predator.
Yes, classic. So. Yeah, right. But yeah, I loved it. Like I like the premise of of someone being invisible, you know what I mean? And someone using that power for bad and not so much for good.
There's not many good uses when you think about it. So I mean, there's more ways to be just like a general troll or douchebag at the very least, and kind of a nefarious ne'er do well or bad guy, and most often. So it kind of lends itself to
that. So after watching those films and then going into this one, I was just kind of just open-minded about it. Let's see what happens, because Invisible Man and then Hollow Man, they're both completely different movies. Like they are just like same premise, takes place, about a man, going invisible. And then in this one, they kind of switch it up a little bit. Because it's not like they inject something in themselves to turn invisible. It's actually quite clever the way they do it, which we'll get into spoilers. And I like the way they did that. Honestly, I truthfully like the way they went about that, and also how they turned it almost into a full-on stalker film, because you can pretty much see that in the trailers, by the way.
Yeah, and I do want to say something really quickly. I don't know if you felt the same, but I would say it's worth noting to people who hear this review, who are debating whether they want to see this movie or not. If you've been through a very hard, abusive relationship, or you have been stalked or whatever, this might trigger stuff or bring stuff up in your past that you may not want. So take that with a grain of salt. Know that it's just a movie. The actors are all fine and friends, but it's shot in multiple ways that it will hit that.
Yeah, it definitely it dabbles in that realm.
Yeah,
of stalker / abusive relationships, and just it was a little rough at times, and especially because the main actress, I
think she killed
Elizabeth Moss. Her character's name is Cecilia Cass. Dude, she did a phenomenal job. I thought she did great, man. And so did Oliver Jackson Cohen. Even though majority of the time you only really hear his voice, sometimes he's not so much.
I liked him in this a lot. I mean, I saw him.
He didn't have too many scenes with him in it, but he from when he was on screen, the time that he was there, he played it very well as mischievous and just evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I saw him for the first time in The Haunting of Hill House, and I loved him
in that show.
Yes, and I loved him in that.
I've never seen that show yet, so I need to watch it.
Yeah, I loved him in that, and then seeing him in this just reaffirmed. I was like, you know what? For the material he was given, which, I mean, it's a big part, obviously, but he didn't have necessarily too much dialogue going on. I felt him. I mean, I was like, powerful, man. I see it.
And he's very manipulative, man. You can see it even just from his facial expressions.
Yeah, I was like
this man's a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
Like, damn, he's even convincing me. Maybe he's really not evil. Like, I was like, whoa, okay. Also, I want to give credit to Aldous Hodge. He played the cop in this film, aka the person that pretty much
loved him.
Brings in Elizabeth Moss's character to just live with them, and he was a really good actor. I thought he did a great job.
He and the girl who played his daughter too.
Yes, they both did really, really great. Although there was a particular scene, I don't think it was their fault. Well, the daughter's fault, which is played by Storm Reed. I don't think it was her fault, because I just think that the scene, the way it was directed, it didn't play out too well, which I will get into more into that scene in particular, and I can kind of give you guys a breakdown of what it is that I'm talking about. But there's a scene in the movie where she gets pretty much punched, and it just looks a little weird. And I'll explain more why in the spoiler section.
Sure.
And her acting, it's not like her acting gave it away. Like, I was like, oh, that was cheesy or whatever. It was just more so of the setup. It was just like, wait, what? I was really confused by that. But overall, like, what were your initial thoughts of the film? Like, kind of going into it.
going into it, like when it first started, or like walking into the theater?
No, just when it first started, just as the film.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah.
Well, when it first started, I tell you what, I was impressed by the immediate sense of tension. I mean, that's one thing I loved about this movie, and I want to give full credits to this movie for this, is that it's very rare for a movie to immediately drop me in a situation where I go from literally laughing at a joke between me and my wife to, oh shit, like actually feeling the tension. Like it was startling to me, like the level I felt of the tension. So I was really impressed with that from the start. And so because of that initial of, oh god, it's intense, I kind of rode that whole way through. It was actually kind of a great time for me. So that was my first impressions. I was impressed.
So did you overall, like as a whole film, did you think the pacing of it was completely fine for you? Did you have any pacing issues at all?
No, not at all. I thought it was pretty well balanced. I found it pretty enjoyable.
Okay, so I am the opposite of you. I actually felt like this movie had a weird pacing issue and a little bit of a confusion in the beginning as to what kind of film it wanted it to be.
Interesting.
So that's how I took it in the very beginning. In the beginning, it seems more like it starts off where it's like clearly she's trying to get the fuck away from this person and, you know, just run away as far as possible. And it seems like, okay, she's in an abusive relationship, right?
Hell yeah, she is.
But then it turns into a horror movie, quote unquote. Like there's just certain shots and certain things that they try to make it seem like it's supposed to be like paranormal activity type stuff. Like it was kind of confusing to me because they were trying to make it, like I said, just more of a horror movie. I don't know. I was really confused by that. And it wasn't scary to me. Like it just wasn't scary. I wasn't scared, but they were really trying to scare the audience. They even had the basic horror movie tropes where pulling the sheets, the knife falls off, the stove turns off.
Here's what it is for me. Like I wasn't scared. I was like, it wasn't a fear of like, like your typical fear in a horror movie. For me, it was more so like, goddamn, that's creepy on a human level. Like, because I understood what was going on. And so it was startling and upsetting and creepy because of what it was. Not because I was like, what's happening? Or I'm spooked or anything like that. It was more like,
right.
God, dude. Like that's what
I don't know. I guess I just felt weird watching it. Like the first half of the movie just seemed, I was kind of confused because I couldn't tell where they wanted to go with the film. I like the way it started because I'm like, oh my god, this person is going to track her ass down and just make her life miserable. But after watching it, it all makes sense. Towards the very end, like the last hour and like 20 minutes, that we needed that first part where I said it seemed like it was trying so hard to be scary. No, we actually it made sense later on. In the beginning, I was a little confused, like what kind of movie is this? Like I'm confused a little bit. I at first I was like at a 2, dude. Like watching it, I'm like, oh, I don't know, this might be a 2 for me, man. And then it started slowly picking up, and then that last hour for sure was just nonstop fucking anxiety and just oh my god, like what's gonna happen, man? And it turned it up in a great way, man. For sure. Like because they set it up to, without giving it away, they set it up to where she's like, it makes it seem like she's fucking crazy. And to everybody.
It would, like, honestly, if you think about it, that's exactly how it would look if someone was going through what she was going through. Like, no one would hardly believe you.
And it was making you frustrated too, because what made me frustrated because I was like, dude, just believe her, just listen to her. Nobody wanted to listen to her. That was the frustrating part, was that no one really wanted to listen to her. It's like, just sit down and listen to her, man. She's not crazy. And it was getting frustrated at moments, but in a good way, in terms of where the movie had me invested. Where I'm just, it was making me feel angry. At first, I was a little upset because of the fact that I just was confused by it. But then it started to make me feel a little nervous, and then angry because I was like, "Fuck, man, just listen to her. She's trying to tell you guys. You guys are just ignoring it."
Yep.
And then it finally ends up, coming all together, and I felt very satisfied by the end of the film.
Well, good.
So I think we should probably get our final ratings here overall, so that way we can jump into the whole spoiler territory and kind of give pretty much the whole grand scheme of, like, bit by piece of each scene that we personally liked, and get into more detail. So if you want to go ahead and start off and give your
sure non-spoiler thoughts behind this, but also this is my official review of the thing.
Yes.
I give it a very strong, confident, buttered 4 out of 5. The reason for that is because I think for me it really worked. I kind of understood in a way that kind of made me question myself. I understood the mind of the villain and why he was doing the things he was doing and how he was doing them. And I was like, oh God, that's exactly what a manipulator person would do. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I followed it 100%. There was moments that caught me off guard. I want to talk about those in spoilers for sure. There were 3 moments in particular that I actually was shocked, that I was like, what? Wow. Okay. Like, I love that. And then the main reason it kept it from a 5 for me is simply because of the fact that there are some plot holes, some issues I had with the conventionality of how characters get from one place to another or how they get out of situations. But with that all considered together, it's still a very strong 4 for me, and I would recommend it to go see in theaters and own. So fully buttered for me. How about you?
Okay, 4 out of 5. So like I said earlier, I think that the film started off great, and then it ends up at a point where it's just like, wait, is this like a scary movie or not? I was very confused at the moment, and I was almost sitting at a 2. I was almost pretty confident that I was going to stay there, but eventually that last hour and like 10-20 minutes picked it up enough to where I shot my score way up now. And by the end of the film, I was very pleased by everybody's acting. Like I said, I only had like 2 issues with the film, really, which I have to get into spoiler territory for that. Very particular scenes. It's just, I feel like there's 2 things that could have worked out in the end, but overall I'm happy with what they went with. Even though I kind of predicted the way it was going to end, because it was very predictable towards the last 20 minutes. You kind of be like, okay, I bet this is what's going to happen. And that's pretty much, you're going to see, when you see the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you can predict it on your own as well.
Which I found was personally kind of satisfying. Personally,
just because it was predictable doesn't mean that it wasn't satisfying. 100%. Sometimes when it's predictable, it's unsatisfying, but this time it was predictable, but I was very happy that they went that way. So I was definitely pleased with it, and I am torn because I'm like, I want to give it a 3, but
be honest to yourself, man.
I want to be honest with myself, and it's like I said, the last hour and 20 minutes that really convinced me that this is a 4. So I want to give it a 4 out of 5. If it wasn't for if it didn't pick up that last hour, I was probably going to give it a 2 for sure. But I'm telling you, that last hour and like 20 minutes, it's worth it. It's all, the setup is perfectly done well. I think it was great. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. 100%. I can't give it any higher than that.
No,
because there's a couple, like I said, there's a couple scenes where I just feel like they could have directed that a little bit better. And then there's also a thing that they could have switched at the very end that probably would have made it a little bit more satisfying. But overall, I was very happy with it. So 4 out of 5 for me, and 4 out of 5 for Tim.
Certified buttered.
Buttered for sure. But yes, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into spoiler territory now. So if you guys are interested in watching the film and are not interested in spoilers just yet, click out of the video or stop the review here on Spotify.
Correct.
And while we get into the spoiler territory, so you are warned. Now,
officially.
Tim,
yes,
let's get into the nitty gritty, man.
Okay.
What are some of the things you really enjoyed about this film, and then we'll get into what are the things that we didn't really like about it.
Okay.
So yeah, so go ahead and
rapid fire things I loved. You mentioned the acting. I thought that was good. I thought the music complemented things while not kind of taking over, which I thought was a very good touch. I thought the way things were shot and held in frame was very intelligent, because it didn't betray anything while also keeping things just out of sight to make the mind wander as to what the hell could be there. I thought that the visuals for the way that the Invisible Man technology with his suit, yes, there's a suit in this, was pretty damn good looking, honestly, although rather convenient near the end at certain points. But I would say what impressed me the most was that tension at the beginning and how it kind of lit that continually play, like almost like a harp string, just building in tension of, is she finally escaped, and is she now being more or less terrorized by someone who she's imagining doing this, or is she actually suffering from this? And that tension of writing, of feeling like no one is listening to you, especially as a victim of abuse. I was like, this is hard, but interesting. Like I'm kind of glued to the screen with that. But overall, man, I really like this movie. There's the scene that really shocked me the most, and maybe totally seen by you, but I didn't expect this at all. She is sitting down at dinner with her sister at one point, who she's gotten estranged with over the course of this movie by actions of her own, but also the actions of the Invisible Man. And she's fucking about to crack, and she's like, I figured shit out, and I have a way to prove it. And as soon as she says that, the sister looks terrified, and the camera shows for like half a second a floating knife next to her, and it goes and cuts her throat and lands in her hand. And I was like, completely like blindsided by that. I was like, what? Like, I was like, oh shit. Like, I was not expecting that. That blew me away.
No, I wasn't. Honestly, I did not expect it, and I didn't catch that. Like, it happened so quickly, because I was like, oh my god, that's what I was like. There's no way nothing bad can happen. They're in a public place, surrounded by everyone, a full crowded like restaurant, and she's about to spill the beans to her sister, right? I believe.
Yeah, it was her sister.
Her sister. And her sister's finally like listening to her, because they had like a really huge argument because this person, her ex husband, I'm assuming, right? I don't remember if it was husband or just a couple.
I think it was a boyfriend who got real like ownership.
Okay, it's a boyfriend. Yes, they're not married because different last names. I see.
Yeah.
That. So the boyfriend that is pretty much stalking her, aka the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
He's just making her life miserable by just doing shit to making her seem like crazy, by like moving things, and she feels like there's someone there, but she can't prove it yet. And
he's doing everything he can to ruin her life.
He was just doing everything she could. Like, whenever she was going to a job interview, all of her work was missing.
I was like, dick.
Yeah, he was just doing like random little things. He sent out an email to her sisters, just like a fucked up email saying like, I hate you, you ruined my life, and you're a stupid bitch, and all this other stuff. And it was just basically impersonating her through emails and stuff, and it was just terrible. He was really just fucking her life over.
Yeah.
But and that so they're in this restaurant. Yeah, they're in this restaurant, public place, and there's just like they're going back and forth talking to each other, and then finally it pans over to the sister. There's just a random floating knife next to her, and for like a split second, whoop, slits her throat, and then he tosses the knife over to her hand. Or
I think he placed it and closed it.
Placed it in her hand, closes it, so it makes it seem like the sister slit her throat and just pretty much set her up. And then they arrested her and put her in pretty much what was it, like in a
mental hospital almost?
Mental hospital, right? Yeah, it was pretty much a mental hospital, and they try to run a bunch of tests and see what the heck is wrong with her. And that scene, I did not expect that. And me and my buddy were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I was like, "Shit!"
That caught us off guard, man. Because throughout the whole movie, there really isn't like, that was the first death, if I'm correct. Like there wasn't that much
I think
deaths like going on at all. And there's only like, as far as kill count goes, there's only 2 deaths in the movie.
That's not true.
Is there another one that I'm not aware of?
Mental hospital where he goes apeshit.
He doesn't kill anybody though. It doesn't. As far as I remember, he wasn't killing people. He was
fucking them up.
He was fucking them up, like he was messing everybody up. But anytime he had the chance to kill somebody, he'd always just walk away or shoot them in the leg and just walk away. Because I was really paying attention to that whole scene, and I noticed that he wasn't killing anybody. He was really just messing them up, knocking them out. And there was a point where he could have easily grabbed the cop's gun, but he tased him instead. And then at one point where he had the gun, there was a scene where they're in the rain outside, and he has the cop just pretty much has the gun pointed to his head, and he doesn't shoot him. He walks away.
Yeah, instead. I saw that.
You know what I mean? So the only 2 deaths that actually happened is the sister, and then the very ending,
which was a good twist, I found.
Which was a really good twist, but I kind of wanted it to not. I kind of wanted it to be something else for some reason, because I like the setup to the other thing. So basically, Oliver Jackson's character has a brother, and whenever he pretty much fakes his death, right, and so the brother is pretty much his lawyer or his consultant, and
which was weird.
Which was like a weird setup, because it's just like, I would rather, it's like, if that ever happened to me, right? It's like my significant other and her sister wanted to do it through me or something like that, and it was an abusive relationship, I probably wouldn't feel so comfortable dealing with her brother. I would have wanted somebody else completely.
Yeah. Which I liked. Like, I liked how her sister was really protective there. I completely bought that. Like, the performance of everyone in this movie, but also like her sister needs to be commended too. Like, she was funny at points, but she was very fierce, and it was cool. I enjoyed her character a lot. But yeah, go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so there was like a huge twist where the brother ended up being the Invisible Man, and pretty much just like they find out that they finally like she finally goes back to like this house where she was staying at with Aldous Hodges and his daughter. Go back to the house that they were staying at, because he was going to end up killing the daughter, and they end up like pretty much taking him down, and she unmasks the man, and it's the brother instead. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like, I kind of saw that coming, and I was like, oh, maybe he was just setting it up and making it seem like the boyfriend was still alive, but or like, no, that the boyfriend was still alive, but he really wasn't alive. But it ended up being pretty much that he was still alive, but he just used his brother to pretty much set him up to make it seem like he was okay and he got kidnapped and he wasn't the bad guy,
right?
In the film, but he was very much alive. And this is the part like towards the very end of the film where he gets very manipulative and pretty much tries to trick, Cecilia, Elizabeth Mott's character, that no, you're crazy. Like, I didn't do anything. I was trapped in the basement. My brother trapped me down there. He took my suit, and just did all this stuff or whatever. But like, clearly you can tell like he's bullshitting, and she knows that he's bullshitting, just because he really was obsessed with the fact that he wanted her to have a baby. And she finally,
that was fucked up too. That reveal.
She finally was pregnant. She revealed, like, she realized that she was pregnant. She was told by the doctors, whenever she was in the mental hospital, that, do you realize that you're pregnant? And then she's like, yeah, she was gonna.
That was fucked up. Like, I remember I was like, God damn. Like, I feel violated and I'm not even a lady. Like,
right.
Shit. Like, that's not okay. Like, that was the next. Like I said, like, this whole movie, it wasn't so much I was scared. I was just like creeped out by how creepy and obsessive and abusive and just awful this man was.
They did a really good job with him, like, just being very, just I wanted them to focus more on the fact that what I really liked about the film, first of all, was the fact that they used the camera to their advantage. Where they would focus on random things around the house, for you to like actually focus so you can kind of see an image there.
Or even just they would show like an empty
so
spot.
It'd be like me and Tim having a conversation, and you see my camera move a little bit over to this way, and it's like it will show almost someone like standing there. Like,
is someone there?
Like,
are they not? Like,
yeah,
it's a cool...
like it just makes you think, kind of like, is there really someone there or not? Like you're trying to look out for things, and then you kind of see it in furniture too. Like sometimes you can kind of see furniture move where it's like someone's sitting there.
Well, I want to say this. That was really intelligent for the directors and the people behind this movie producing it, because they had such a low budget. I think it was only $9 million in total for this movie.
Yeah. No, $7 million. It was
only
$7 million.
It's so small,
and it's already made more than enough.
Yeah, and it's the way that they use that little bit of a budget. They just use the camera moving over a little bit so that the mind of the audience can put that person there. Brilliant. I was like, that works perfect. I love that.
Yeah, no. They clearly, honestly, I couldn't even tell that this was technically, like, I guess for a big studio, it's considered a low budget film with only 7 million. But even though 7 million is a lot of money, you do a lot with that. But it's just for like a film, I guess. They've completely just made more than enough with their money back, because it was a $7 million film. I think, as of yesterday or a few days ago, it was at 50 million.
Oh yeah, they made their money. They're happy.
I was like, holy shit. So yeah, they've done a great job with it. Now I want to talk about certain things that I really didn't like about it.
Well, before you do that, I have one more thing to mention that I did really like.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
A scene that actually scared me. The only one that actually like made me almost shit myself, because I didn't expect this early on. I saw it in the trailer, but my mind put it in a completely different environment. Was she's in the attic, right? And he's been fucking with her like crazy this whole time. This is his like piece of the resistance to confess to her that he's been fucking. He's real. So she's up there with the flashlight. Kind of dumb to be up there by yourself with a flashlight, but still. And she's like seeing all this evidence, and then she goes and she sees, or she hears something over by like the ladder up to the attic entrance. And she's like looking down, and then all of a sudden, real quick, she just grabs a bucket of paint and throws it in front of her, and it lands on his suit and covers him, and he's right there. I almost felt like it was in my face. I was like, ah, shit. Like, in my seat.
This is the thing with that scene.
Yeah.
And we can kind of start off the things that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Is one of the trailers actually ruined that scene for me.
Oh, damn. See, my mind didn't remember the trailer. I remember seeing it. Yeah.
See, that's the thing, is that there was a trailer that actually showed that particular scene where she's up in the attic, and she's like, for some reason, like I said, throughout the film, he's fucking with her in his house, making her seem like she's crazy, or it's like something paranormal or whatever, right? And then she has the idea, maybe I should call his cell phone. And she calls the cell phone, and it rings up in the attic. And so she's
right
like,
above her bedroom too.
Yes. And so she goes up there, and she finds her cell phone, and she finds all these pictures of her sleeping. And then she gets a text from that cell phone.
She finds her work stuff and the knife from the kitchen. Yeah, she finds her
work stuff too, and a kitchen knife to pretty much, I guess, set her up. And she randomly gets a text from her ex-boyfriend's cell phone number, and it says surprise. As soon as she found all that stuff, and she's like, what the hell? And so she hears something in the house, so she kind of like crawls back over to the
she left the home phone that she called the cell phone on kind of by the entrance to the attic, which I was like, okay, he's gonna fuck with that. And that calls up behind her or does something, and I was like, here we go. I'm gonna get spooked. This is prime time for me. I'm sad that got spoiled for you with the trailer. That sucks.
And so she pretty much crawls back over there, and then she has the attic door open, and she's just looking down, where she came from, and she, for some odd reason, she felt like something was like watching her at that, so she throws a bucket of paint, like how Tim said, and it reveals that he's like standing there looking at her.
He's like this close to her.
Yeah, and then he freaks the fuck out, and he runs off because he realized that he can see her, or she can see him, or whatever, and. Yeah, that scene is in a trailer. I'm like, why would you ruin that?
Yeah, I have an issue with some trailer companies. I'm starting to really get a beef with them because I'm like, come on.
That's what I'm trying to do is like, well, at least with scary movies or something like this, suspenseful, because like I said, this is kind of confusing because sometimes it can be a little scary, but it's more suspenseful than anything.
Yeah.
I would say try and steer away from trailers because
a little too
for
much
future reference, you know, because this is spoiler talk, so it doesn't matter now. But I mean, like for future reference, like try to stay away from trailers that are horror movies because they tend to show too much at times, man. And that was a really good setup scene, and it could have been a really good jump scare scene too.
Shit got me good.
I didn't already know that it was already coming.
Yeah.
So I already knew I already knew I was coming. But the older ladies next to us, they freaked the fuck out, dude. They were like screaming.
I would have been right with them. With the old ladies going like, ah!
Yeah.
But that scene leads to my first issue. If we want to jump into issues with the movie,
let's get into the issues with like the things that we didn't really like. And I have like 2 or 3 scenes that I didn't like. But go right ahead.
But right after that awesome moment for me, he manages to not only get to the kitchen to wash himself off without leaving too much of a trail, but he does it perfectly without making hardly any noise. And it's paint on optical equipment on a. I'm like I know I have to suspend disbelief for a movie like this, but that was like an even another step for me where I was like, okay, come on.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that I kind of wish they dove into the fact that where they show him trying to make the suit. Like they do like a flashback of him being abusive in this relationship because they don't show that.
Yeah.
They never show that. You just assume because the way she's explaining all these things and stuff, but they never actually go back. They don't do like a flashback scene of when they're in the relationship and the things that he was doing to her, or you know when he was working on the suit and he finally figured it out or whatever.
I got very.
We get no like lore behind the suit, and he manages to make more than one. He makes like 2 or 3, I think.
I think there's only 2.
There was 2. Well, there was more in the basement that they were there. I don't know if they were just prototypes or
Probably
whatever. But in the beginning of the movie, she's walking through his like little lair or his office area where he makes all his like, you know, invisible suits, and she walks past a couple. They're not camouflage, but she walks by one of the main ones that is camouflage, but she doesn't know that it's a suit. It's just like empty. She's like, what the heck? But no, there's a suit there, but it's just like in active camouflage or whatever. And yeah, I just kind of wish that they would have dove into the fact that, you know, showed a little bit of the relationship side and also showed him actually working to trying to get the suit correct. But I'm assuming that had to fall on the budget.
Yeah, I definitely think that had to do with budget.
I think they had to fall with a budget.
And for what they insinuate through like just the tension of that opening and how she's acting around him and so cautious that she's paranoid when he even shifts in bed, it gave me almost Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones vibes of a torturous monster man. And so I was like, okay, I kind of understand. I don't know if I need to see it specifically, but I do agree that because they didn't show or explain the suit.
It could have just been like a 5-minute flashback scene to kind of work, because there's a point where she sits down and she tells her sister and her friend that, you know, what he was doing to her. But that would have been nice. That would have been a perfect moment where it flashbacked. It could have been like in black and white or whatever they wanted to do, and they flashback through their relationship, quick little scenes or him working on it, and it's just him just being abusive or whatever. But I don't think it could be due to budget, or it could be the fact that
or rating.
Maybe they don't, or maybe they just don't want to show too much abusive stuff on screen. Maybe they didn't want to dug into it too much in there.
I mean, it was rated R, right? I believe so. I think it was rated R, if I remember correctly.
It was R. Yes, it was R.
So they had room for that, but
yeah, well, obviously because they cut that lady's throat, we see that. So
yeah,
like, yeah, right.
So I don't know why, but I think it's the budget. I think that's the main reason, because it was such a small budget.
And before we continue on with more of the stuff that we really just didn't like, one thing I really want to note is the fact that Elizabeth Moss, whenever she's in the mental hospital, dude, her performance shines in that particular moment because they make her look fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And like the makeup made her look really like nasty and like she was going nuts. And she was selling it too, man. Just her eyes and her looks, her like just random jitters. Like she was very just like convincing.
She was at the end of her rope and I bought it.
It wasn't helping her at all, man. And because everybody else around her is like pretty much convinced that she's fucking nuts, like at this point, you know.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to point that out that you get one hell of a performance for her, and that's like during that last hour I'm really referring to that really sold me. I'm like, dude, this is great. But I want to tackle one particular scene that really bugged me. Was there's a scene in the movie where she's pretty much breaking down because she knows that there's somebody in the house, right? She's already convinced, and she's just laying on the floor crying. And
isn't that shortly after she just found out about the letter to her sister too, or the email?
Yes, so her sister finally found out that she sent her an email, and then her sister's like, fuck you, I don't want anything to do with you. So she comes home and she just breaks down crying, and her interview went like shit because all of her work was gone. And she was just having a terrible day, so she just broke down crying in her room. And then Aldous Hodges' daughter in the film, Storm Reed, comes in. She says, hey, you know what, like, how about we have a girls' night? Let's eat some ice cream or something, let's just watch a movie.
Right.
Pretty much trying to cheer her up, right? Now, the scene was kind of, heartwarming, and it was, I was like, all right, cool, But I want to point this out, okay? The daughter was, I want to say, a good 6 to 7 feet away from her. Right?
Yeah.
6 to 7 feet away from her. And they're just like standing pretty far apart from each other, and they're talking face to face. And all of a sudden, the daughter gets punched, like out of nowhere, just as they're having this intimate moment, and she freaks the fuck out. And the daughter assumes that she hit her when clearly they're 7 feet away from each other. And I don't know about you, I've almost been punched. Like I've had a punch thrown at me. I know I can always see it, especially if they're that fucking far, dude. You're gonna see it. But for some reason, the character just decides to just immediately just convince herself that, oh, she punched me. No, like, dude, you got punched out of nowhere. Let me, for the movie's defense, I have to play devil's advocate here. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead.
I think, I can't confirm, I only saw the movie once. I think the daughter of the cop said, all right, girls' night, ice cream, movies, we're gonna do it. Sweet. And she kind of turned her head a little ways away. It's not much to give. It is kind of bullshit she immediately assumed. But I have to just assume she's got no peripheral vision from an injury from childhood. And she's like a horse with blinders. So she just turned.
Dude, yeah, it threw me off. And I was like, what? Like, really? You're just gonna blame her when you were clearly 7 feet away from her? And you're not gonna acknowledge the fact that. And plus, I mean, this was like a man punch, clearly, because the way she like
across the room almost.
Yes, and it knocked her the fuck out for like a moment, and she was like freaked out. You know what I mean? No, like you would.
I don't blame the dad's reaction though. Because he came in not seeing it, and he's like, I'm going to believe my daughter.
He ran in there, and because she screamed, she's like, Dad, she punched me, whatever. So the dad just pretty much...
He's like, I'm going to protect my daughter right now.
Yeah, he was being neutral about it and not freaking out either, which is why I thought it was really convincing, and I admire that, because I think that's how I would have reacted too.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't immediately just jump to conclusions, but like, what the fuck, you hit my daughter?
Start beating the shit out of her.
Just like, listen, you got to relax, and I need to tell you, like, I need to get my daughter somewhere safe right now. And then, we can talk, because he was being a grown man about it.
Yeah, he was intimidating on the screen. It
was very convincing and everything. Yeah. I'm like, dude, right on that. That was a good part of that scene.
That punch though was kind of
it was a little sus. It was a little suspicious. Yeah. Is there any particular scene that you wanted to talk about in regards to that just kind of bugged you a little bit?
Well, I mean, that paint scene really bothered me about how the hell he got the paint off of him that quickly.
Right.
And the other thing that really bothered me was it's that typical, like, superhero comic book villain, whatever thing where the villain's technology works when it needs to for the plot, doesn't when it doesn't, or whatever. So for him, his invisibility suit got injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's at this mental hospital, and he's like glitching like crazy. But as soon as someone who would actually benefit from seeing him looks at his direction, it works fine. And so they look away, and then it's like, I'm on the fritz again. And I was like, come on, you gotta at least kind of be consistent.
Yeah, that was another little thing that kind of bugged me a little bit. It's just like, oh, how convenient.
Yeah. And it's things like those that kept it from the 5 for me, because I was really surprised with the movie overall. Like, I didn't have any expectations like you did. Right. And I completely forgot about a lot of the shit in the trailer, clearly, by me having almost filled pants at the theater from that jump scare.
Yes, but I didn't really have any expectations either, but I just, like I said, I just kind of I think there was like that towards that very end where I wanted them to just stick with the brother just being crazy and just kind of fulfill what his brother wanted him to do, was pretty much for her to have the baby.
Yeah, it would have been a cool twist.
I mean? Like I would have liked that better, but they still decided to bring the brother in and pretty much show that he was still alive, because throughout the film, it's pretty much being told that he committed suicide. But he's still alive.
Yeah.
So that guy, I felt like they could have benefited a little bit better if they would have just stuck with the fact that the brother was just kind of, because he always felt like his brother was better than him and all this other stuff, and his brother even kind of abused him too. Well, it's told, but it's never shown.
Right. See, to me, it's apples and oranges at that point. I mean, right. I like both ideas.
And like I said, I'm like nitpicking at that point, but I was very pleased overall with what they decided to do, and also the ending part of the film. I did like. The only thing that I thought was really, really cheesy was so basically, let me go ahead and break down the ending here.
Okay.
She tries to convince him that or not convince him, but she's pretty much like, oh, like she's just kind of agreeing with him on everything, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go wash up or whatever. And now keep in mind there's two invisible suits, and she manages to hide one of them, and
now that I think about it, there had to have been 3.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Or unless they were trading that one suit off.
And that's the other issue then I have, because if they only had 2 suits, the one that got fucked up with the pin at the hospital was damaged to shit. And if he managed to repair that, give it to his brother, and his brother got shot to shit, then that one's out of commission, in which case he has no other choice than to play that card.
This is the thing. I am convinced that there was 3 suits, because the person at the hospital, I think that was the boyfriend.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that was the boyfriend, right? And whenever it pans over to the house, that was the brother. So there were both at 2 different places at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I agree. But I think both of their suits got fucked up to the point where they couldn't use them.
Yeah, of course. But she ends up hiding one of them, and she pretty much sets him up, and she pretty much does what he did to her sister. It makes it, because there's cameras recording all over the house, and she sets it up where he pretty much makes it seem like he committed suicide. And when she kind of, goes away and takes the suit off, she comes back and she freaks out in front of the cameras to make it seem like, oh my God, he committed suicide. So that way it's not looking like it's murder or anything like that. And then she takes a step back from the camera, and she just tells him surprise, because that's pretty much what he told her. And I thought that was a nice little touch that she said that, because she pretty much just goes full on like, F you, moment, because she knew that as long as he's alive, that she was never going to be comfortable with her life, because he was just going to keep fucking manipulating and torturing the shit out of her. Yeah. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Do you think this is setting up, at least potentially, a Invisible Woman movie?
So, which I was going to go into right now. So the scene that I really didn't I thought was very cheesy was after this, right?
Yeah.
She walks on out of the house with a black bag, which has just has the suit that she has. So the only suit, technically the only suit left. And she just pans in front of the camera, just looks at it straight on, and it just ends right there. I'm like, well, why did they decide to end that way?
Well, she has that conversation with the officer right
afterwards. No, but I'm talking about when it ends though. Yeah. She just walks up straight to the camera and just looks at it, and then it just ends. It was just like an awkward moment.
Would you say you didn't see that ending coming?
I would have. Tim, I swear, man. I would have just preferred that she just walked off camera, you know what I mean, and then just leave it at that or whatever. Yeah. But it was just like an awkward moment where she just walks up to the camera and just looks at it for like a few seconds, and it's just a little awkward, and then it ends. Yeah, and we're like, wait, what? And then, but it pretty much, it's kind of hinting that she's gonna become the Invisible Woman. Yeah, with the suit. We don't know how they would even. I can't even begin to think of like how would they even do a sequel to this film. Like what would she do? You know,
I have no clue. Yeah, she takes up crime fighting. I have no.
I mean, and another thing that they don't like mention, or I guess they can pretty much bring up in the sequel is, you know, did she actually decide to have the baby? Because that's still up in the air too, where she's still pregnant.
Invisible birth.
The baby's gonna come out invisible too.
No, I don't know, man. But right. Last thing I'll say on this, because we've been going a little while here, is I really also liked the intro, like title cards where the waves are crashing and it's showing the letters. Yeah, I was like, that was kind of
really cool. That was really cool.
So I liked that as well.
But yeah, that was really cool. So not too much to nitpick at, and really, bug us too much. Like I said, we still gave it a 4 out of 5. That one scene with the punch really threw me the F off, though, just because I was like, whoa, they're really far apart, and she's just gonna immediately blame her. She's not gonna ask her like, why'd you punch me, or did you just punch me, or ask, she's like, no, it wasn't even near you. But no, she just like straight up just blames her when she's 7 feet away. So that scene right there almost ruined it for me. But like I said, you can kind of wave it off.
Yeah.
But overall, enjoyed the film. I think you guys would really like it too. Even if you stuck through the spoilers, I think you guys would really, really like it. It's completely different, and also there's twists in there that, like I said, that we kind of mentioned here and there, but it's better to actually watch the scene play out than
it'll still hit you good, because that tension
it'll still hit you pretty good, even with us just trying to explaining some of these scenes. They're done pretty damn well, and like I said, the acting, I have no complaints on. Everybody is acting. I think everyone did a pretty good job with what they had, and I thought they were great. Other than that, like I said, guys, 4 out of 5 for me. Tim, 4 out of 5, right? Buttery for sure. Next movie that we are gonna decide to review is probably going to be Deadshot.
Or Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. I said Deadshot. Bloodshot with Vin Diesel.
Yes.
Onward, or was it Onward? Onward comes out this weekend, which I won't be able to review, unfortunately. Just kind of budgeting and stuff like that. But Tim, I don't know if you're gonna end up watching it or not.
It's a toss in the air. So if we have a bonus review, then that'll be there. If not, then you'll see us next week.
If Tim actually ends up watching Onward, potentially he can do a mini review by himself, and he'll definitely give you guys his thoughts for sure. But the next actual sit down review will be for Bloodshot.
Yes.
And after that will hopefully be Quiet Place 2. Quiet Place 2.
Yep.
And then after Quiet Place 2 will be Mulan. So we'll go ahead and mark those down in your calendar, because it's gonna be Bloodshot, Quiet Place 2, and then Mulan. And then hopefully Mulan is good, because I really like the animated version of Mulan, man.
Yeah, it'll be good. I know it's going to be slightly different because they're going with the Legend versus the Disney version.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's still quite a bit there to
right. The last trailer that we saw was actually pretty damn good too. Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for listening or watching YouTube. Really do appreciate it. And once again, stay tuned for more What's Poppin' reviews, and also keep a lookout for the more podcasts. And like I said on the podcast, that we are now officially on Spotify, so you'll be able to catch these hopefully a day early before the actual video form of the podcast or the reviews go up on YouTube. So if you guys are listening on Spotify, you guys get them first. If you guys would just prefer to listen to it that way.
So follow us there, subscribe here on YouTube, drop a like where you can. We appreciate it all the time.
Yes, guys. Be sure to always like the videos. It always helps us out a ton, and it keeps us going. It definitely motivates us to make more content. And I promise you, very, very soon, you guys are gonna keep getting more content other than just reactions, the podcast, and the reviews. Might do some, vlogging stuff in terms of like me going to a movie studio or something in the realm of film. So it should be a lot of fun. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next What's Poppin' review. Take it easy, guys.